Greetings, fellow Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. We have a lot to talk about today, mostly about DC and mostly about Warner Brothers and the fact that they just can't seem to figure out how to release a movie on time. In fact, there are so many different movies being moved around right now that you kind of need a calendar to pay attention and mark different dates off and use a circle and draw it over. It's nuts. It's absolutely bonkers, and we got to get into it because these are major productions that just can't land anywhere. And a lot of it has to fall on the laps of James Gunn and many others, but mainly Warner Brothers. So let's jump into the fact that Batman 2 is definitely delayed. Now, before we get started, just a quick reminder, look down there, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. That's right, take advantage of the free subscription offer right now. And don't miss out because you can turn that bell icon on, get all notifications so you don't miss a live stream, a video, or anything else we have going on the channel. Now, let's jump into this. The Batman 2 is delayed until 2027. That's right. Alejandro G. Inarritu's Tom Cruise movie gets a 2026 date, and there's a lot of flip-flopping on the calendar, which we'll get to in just a minute. But this is not a good sign. There's some rumors about Pattinson, and we'll get into those in just a minute. We also have some rumors about a Superman situation and maybe some fallout there, which I'm going to talk about in a separate video, so you don't want to miss out on that one. We've got Batman 2 just being done, or at least moving anyway. Moviegoers are going to have to wait until 2027 for the film. The sequel was originally supposed to open on October 2nd of 2026. Everything is shifted for an entire year. We're now looking at October 1, 2027. It's going to be an IMAX release. Warner Brothers is definitely pushing that out on the biggest screens it possibly can. This particular opening left some room for the next Cruise film, which will be out in 2026. So it'll take the place on October 2nd, which will also open in IMAX. Now, Warner Brothers made some additional tweaks to the upcoming schedule, which we're going to talk about with this Mickey 17 move and Coogler's Sinners. Mickey 17 has now moved back considerably. Another Robert Pattinson project. You get a theme here. That's going to be opening on March 7th of 2025. So that'll come up right before we get foisted upon by Snow White, which is going to be on the 21st. So be on the lookout for Sinners, which puts Michael B. Jordan back in place, I think playing twins. So very interesting storyline to that from what I'm told. And again, that takes the place of Mickey 17. The Cruise film is one that's definitely shrouded in secrecy, so much so that I don't know that anybody knows what the working title even is. But apparently, it's all about the most powerful man in the world, and my assumption is that's Tom Cruise. It's got an all-star cast, according to many, and Cruise embarks on a frantic mission to prove he is humanity's savior before the disaster he's unleashed destroys everything. Well, it sounds like he's both the hero and the villain in this one. Should be interesting, intriguing, and maybe not making time for that extra Top Gun film that we were supposed to be getting in 2027, if I'm not mistaken. And if it takes all the way until 2027 to get another Batman film, that's a 5-year span of time. And in the movie business, that's everything. Pattinson will have gotten that much older. So has the script, which may not land if they're trying to do something that's very timely. And there are a lot of other things that don't seem to be hitting right at the moment. For instance, DCU Batman postponed amid Robert Pattinson rumors. Now, this is coming from Cosmic Big Book News, which I actually believe in, consider one of the best. It's Matt McGloin over there. And it's learned that the Batman movie, The Brave and the Bold, from Flash director Annie Muschietti is now on hold. That's an entirely other project. And the news follows rumors that James Gunn wants Pattinson as the DCU Dark Knight. Recently, also saw some news that the Batman was pushed back to 2027, which I just told you about. And Annie Muschietti's actually focused on an entirely new project. He was on the California Secreta podcast, and he was asked specifically about The Brave and the Bold, but he's focusing on another movie now, stating, "I'm writing a science fiction movie that I would like to do. Batman is a project that's been postponed a bit, so there could be another film before it, possibly that one." Oh, I bet so. In addition to The Brave and the Bold being not ready yet, there are many other things, according to Gunn, that are not ready yet. For example, Booster Gold is not quite ready. Waller isn't quite there. Brave and the Bold isn't quite there. There are not quite where I want them to be yet. Well, I bet not. And I'm going to tell you, Creature Commandos wasn't quite there yet either, but you stuck that in our face, didn't you? On top of that, Schneider also revealed that, according to Gunn, The Brave and the Bold just hasn't had a good pitch yet, which means there's nothing there to be there with. And it's also kind of a misstatement by Machete, which is also a little bit concerning. Schneider, adding to it, says, I'm told Machete is not off. What I'm told is they just haven't heard a pitch that they like from writers, so the movie's on the back burner, and he's still on it. But he's already writing a sci-fi project? I find this all highly suspicious. And Matt reminds us that it's worth mentioning that Matt Reeves is involved with the DCU, producing the live-action Clayface that we've recently talked about on multiple podcasts, including the H-Cast over on Mr. H Reviews. And that movie is set for September 11th of 2026, which means they're well on their way to making that happen. What's worse is that this is the third date that Mickey 17 has had. It was originally supposed to come out on January 31st, but at the very beginning, Warner's had positioned it for March 29th of 2024. So what happened? Well, it got screen tested at least 4 times since the fall of 2023. It started production in the summer of 2022, and recent reports from Variety say that Warner's was definitely not pumped about this film in the first place. And of course, the worst news being is that Mickey 17 cost $150 million to produce. And with the test screening reactions being all over the place, you have to wonder why you got out and got top talent for this with Robert Pattinson and Mark Ruffalo, when you should have just stuck with some unknowns and paid a lot less for something that looks like it may fail. With its crazy high concept, I don't think this film has a chance to be successful, but since we've reached the audience participation part of the video, I ask you, are any of these moves significant enough to make you question what's going on at Warner Brothers? Do you question what's going on at DC? And do you question whether or not Pattinson's involvement is actually at the heart of some of these issues? Do you think that a Pattinson Batman could work with a Mr. Corn Sweats Superman? I don't know. But it doesn't sound as if Superman is getting a whole lot of buzz. If anything, it's sounding a little bit negative. And we're going to check that out in another video. So stay tuned. As I mentioned before, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others. Until the next time, see ya for real. Superman is in huge trouble. Warner Brothers is nervous about it, and they're nervous about James Gunn's DCU. And that's just the title of the video. There's a lot more going on here, and there are a lot of articles being written about it. You see, Culturians, we have a Superman that is in dire need of support, or maybe not. A lot of it's going to depend on what this story actually means. Superman's blue suit, his cape, and of course, truth, justice, and the American way is maybe suffering from some guilt by the people that are producing this particular IP. And when it comes to Warner Brothers Discovery and James Gunn, they're kind of struggling behind the scenes, according to some, about who's actually in charge or the overlord of these DC films. And honestly, they should be, because this is the last chance I believe that DC has to give us something out of the Warner Brothers brand that actually lives up to the comics. This is it. The Snyderverse was a failure. This cannot afford to be. Gunn's got to hit a home run coming out with these film projects, and it has to be Superman. And it has to actually be Superman this time, and not some imitation in a very dark world. DC overall has had far more failures than successes in the last several years, mainly because of the fascination with the incredibly dark side of these characters. Gunn's Superman is supposed to be the launching pad for the new DC universe. And what if it actually does stumble out of the gate? What does that mean? It means a catastrophe. And it's going to sound bad. The stuff I have to talk about isn't good. If it's bad, it'll take down the whole DCU with it. And we barely just begun. And it wasn't a strong start to begin with Creature Commandos. Of course, there's always a kicker. People who've seen the early cuts, and that includes some friends and executives of Mr. Gunn, say that, well, it's not great. So today we're going to be diving into all that drama, speculation, and insider gossip. And is Superman literally set to soar or crash and burn? Let's jump in. Here we go.